Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Friday, February 23rd. And yes, we do have our coffee, and it's 5 a.m. What time is it there? All right, so we've done a lot of the trying to self help development type thing for a while. And we'll switch it back to a little bit more on business. I did a small engine repair video again yesterday. I'll have that up today on certain specialty tools. And again, you guys that know more or something that I forgot to add it in the comments so everybody gets a better understanding how we use them. But I thought we'd talk today about the trends in every state, business trends, because MK was asking about that. And then some of the traits that you need to develop or get people that already have it developed in your business. And it could make you or break you. Stay tuned. Alright, so welcome back. My name is Eric. This is the weekday show, Friday, of course. And I do some videos on Saturday and then some on Sunday that I call a Sunday sermon. No, I'm not a minister. But today we're talking about business trends and how friendly is New York to businesses. You know, it's not any better or any worse no matter where you go. If you're going to do business within a certain state, you got to abide by the rules, right? And my biggest concern right now is the trillions of dollars that are leaving New York over this whole fiasco that's going on down in the city. Because those trillions that are going to Texas and Florida mean who's going to make up the difference or what stuff is going to get cut. See, what happens in the city does affect us. If you have millionaire and billionaires moving out that are paying substantial tax money to the state of New York to do business in New York, and they don't feel that it's friendly to them, why wouldn't they pull up stakes and move? I would. If I thought a state was coming after me, I'd take my money and go to a state that was more friendly. See, we have two different types of states. We have states that you pay income tax, and then you have states that there are no income tax. And actually in Alaska, they pay you as a resident. Whereas New York, you pay New York to be a resident. And everything you do is taxed. Whether, you buy a car, it's taxed. You sell that car used to somebody else, that person pays a tax on that. And they sell it to somebody else, then it's taxed again. The only thing that's not taxed in New York that I know of is groceries. And it may very well be that we're going to be taxed on groceries with all of these large corporations moving out of the state. But we'll just, keep doing business as we've done business for the last 15, 20 years, So whether you like or you hate our former president, I don't care. But I think we all can agree on what is being done down there is not right, and it's all politically motivated. I would call it out if it was on the left, if the right was doing this to the left. And a lot of it is because they're in this bubble, all right, Washington bubble, where they don't know what's going on in the real world. We're paying them, by the way, to do all this fiasco crap instead of doing what they should be doing, and that is making it better for us, you and I, okay? Period. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, alien, not illegal alien. They should be doing what's right by us. That's period. They work for us. That's it. Trump is worldly. He's not sitting in Washington in that bubble. He's jet setting all over the place. He's got key people in place that are monitoring the pulse of everything going on. That's the difference. He's out there talking to the small people, as Washington calls us. He's looking at the struggles of small business, individuals, families, and trying to make it better. So when we look at this, when you talk about business trends, you have to talk political now, because everybody, after impeaching Trump, now we've impeached, was it Mayorkas? And they're going after Biden, and they've given, I don't understand how people cannot see what's really going on. One side is being protected, and the other side is being thrown under the bus by untruths. Not truths, untruths. And that's made up. We sat through 4 years of the former president of how he was supposed to be a trader and this and that and doing business with foreign companies and blah, blah, blah. And it ends up being the other side. The side that's in power now that was doing exactly what they were claiming the former was. So enough on that, on my little rant. I think everybody, whether you want to admit it or not, I think we all agree on that point, that what's going on down there, up there, wherever you want, wherever you're located, is not what we want. Not one iota. And I think it's time that you toss the parties aside and just come together as one. We're American. We deserve better. We're paying for it and we're giving it away to other countries that aren't friendly to us. I think it's time for a change. But that's just me. All right. So on to the other stuff. When it comes to things that I learned early on that will either make or break a business. And one of the first things that stuck with me is when I was back during my farming days, I used to go into a local John Deere dealership, and they're friends. I've mentioned them before. And one of the key things was they would remember your name. I thought, how cool is that? How do they remember everybody's name? And while I stood there waiting for my parts one day, probably 8 or 10 different people come in, and one of the boys or the father called out the guy's name and asked him how he was doing. Now, making your customer feel like your friend is a positive thing, as long as that's what you're really after. If you're after just trying to make an impression, now people can see through that. But these guys took it serious. They wanted to make you feel comfortable in their dealership. And a lot of times it was just simply, hey, Eric, how's it going? I'm like, going great, how about you? And it was just small talk, right? But if you had a question on a piece of equipment that they had for sale, or how something worked, you could follow that up after they said hello. And what about this baler you have? And that's how they succeeded even during the rough times. Is the community rallied around them because they were part of the community. They sponsored certain dances during the summer, bands down in the park. And they were always leading the charge for like a cancer collection type thing, and having their business name attached to it and backing it. But this went from a father to 3 sons, and since then they've sold the dealership out because they're getting up in years, and I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall as well. Is most people were ordering parts online and dealing with aftermarket, so a lot of their customer base shrank as far as sales when it came to the counter and parts. Don't get me wrong. The company that took over kept most of the people. Actually, one of the boys is managing that dealership. And they're staying pretty busy down there. But the key is if you aren't good with customer service and learning people's names and wanting to know more about them, then you need to have somebody on board that can, if that makes any sense. See, back in my farming days, I wasn't that outgoing type person. I was introvert, and it came from spending most of my time with animals and having fun with animals. I mean, all my cows had names, and the calves had names, and I was around them 24/7 doing something, whether it was cleaning the barn, milking the cows, helping raise calves, you name it. That was my... So I hardly got out much. If I went to the sale, maybe once a month, once every other month. But then I didn't know a lot of people down there. Because I wasn't out there talking to people. I was home on the farm. So when I got done farming, and that sort of changed to where I was around a lot of people at work, and relationships matter, and how to excel in that environment without stepping on people's toes or making them feel threatened is a big word, threatened. But that was one of the biggest challenges when we started this small engine repair business, was you weren't dealing with just coworkers now. You're dealing with employees, you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with the financial aspects of it, regulatory aspects of it. You wear all these different hats when you first start, right? But one of the things that I remember was learning people's names. And it was just Claude and I in the beginning when we started off. And even he asked me, why do you remember their names? I said, because it's important. You got to make your customer your friend. And if your friend wants to bring their stuff to their friend to have it fixed. So we have to instill trust. We have to instill, that relationship of nurturing it. And that's the way I've done business ever since. And when I was hiring customer service reps, Krista was my first. And she was an introvert, actually. But she just shined, when it came to either dealing with customers on the phone, because we were selling all over the U.S. We had our own online websites with parts listed on it. So people could call and get her or I, and we do a parts lookup and find the parts that they needed, take a credit card over the phone, yada yada, and get them shipped. But she had a notepad next to her, and she was writing down a person's name. And then if they got very far, like a wife or kids, she would write that. And that's how she was remembering things. And she would ask about the family, when she was talking to individuals. And they weren't used to that from a business. We're just here to sell you something and give us your money and get the hell out. That wasn't the approach that we took, that Krista and I. We wanted to know more about our customers. And if they were having a rough time, and they just wanted to visit, hey, we'll visit. But that took us from being a business like any other business to a great business. a lot of return customers, and that was the key for us, is returning customers. And we understood that it's so much cheaper to retain returning customers than it was to go out and get new ones. Don't get me wrong, we had guys and gals that were ordering parts. They didn't want any small talk. They just want to know what it cost, how soon could they have it, here's my credit card, hang up on you. That's it. And for those, we never did develop a relationship because they didn't want a relationship. Some people are like that. To the point, okay. But if I were to give you advice on the most important thing when it comes to business, is going to be your customer service and how you treat your customer, how you handle your customer, learning their names. And it takes time. You know, a lot of people worry about, I remember when I was doing web development, and that's creating websites. And one of the same old question that I got from people that didn't know what they were talking about when it came to a website was, they thought if I created them an e-commerce website, that they would be inundated with customers up the yin-yang. And that was so far from the truth. I used to tell them, you know, because that was your biggest worry, was, are we set up to be able to handle thousands of orders a day? I'm like, what? Well, yeah, if you're going to put it out in the internet, then everybody's going to want to buy stuff, and that's not how it works. Hey, the way it works is we put your website up, and the only people that are going to look at that website are you and your mama. That's it. Until we get that ranked in the search engines, we start putting out business cards with that web address on it. You have to build the following around it. Very few businesses, by throwing a website up, were inundated with customers. I've never had one that had that type of a following. Now, I've had customers and companies that are already established that they simply added it to their ads, you know, and so forth. So theirs grew faster, but it came from the ground up. It wasn't automatic. So whether you're just starting up a business or you've already got a business in place, this may be one aspect that you may not be doing well and could do better at. We can always do better, right? But if you're not approaching this where you're learning their names and a little bit about them and are truly interested, try it. Watch the changes that take place. And they will be your returning customers because you made them feel important by knowing their name. Simple as that. And like I say, don't do it as a ploy. And small talk is fine, but don't get into a whole rendition. You know, whether you're in sales, you know, that's what I've always said about like salespeople. The best salespeople make themselves available, but they're not pushy. And I like one of the things that made my son very successful as a car salesman was he would simply walk over if he saw somebody, hand them his business card, tell him that he's around, they can call him or whatever, and he would be more than happy to help them on whatever they wanted. And he would start to walk away. A lot of times that would open the dialogue. You know, all of us have encountered the pushy salesman trying to push us into something that either we couldn't afford or wanted to throw all these options in so they can make money on the back end. If you're truly interested in that customer and doing what's best by the customer, that customer will see that. So on that note, you guys have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'm not sure what I got planned for the videos for the weekend. But we're going to do it in steps. The most important, customer service. If you don't have good customer service, it can make or break you. So on that note, you guys have a great Friday, and we'll see you here bright and early Monday morning for the weekday. All right. Thanks so much for watching.